We're married now, Mom. Send me the key to the house in Malibu. My son's words were a blade of ice. No hello, no explanation, and certainly no apology for cutting me out of one of his life's most significant moments. Just a demand, delivered with the casual entitlement of someone who has never been denied a thing. I stood in my kitchen, phone pressed to my ear, staring out at the vast Pacific Ocean that has witnessed every chapter of my life for 40 years. The same ocean that carried my father's ashes, my husband's, and will someday carry mine. Connor, I managed, my voice steadier than my heart. You got married? Yeah, last weekend. Look, Scarlett has always dreamed of honeymooning at the Malibu house. We need the keys ASAP. We're thinking of heading there tomorrow for a month, maybe longer. Nandy. Scarlett. Dot. A name I'd never heard. My new daughter-in-law, apparently, though I couldn't picture her face or her voice. And now, they wanted my home. Not just any home, but the iconic beachfront property my father, Felix Hartman, bought with the proceeds from his legendary screenplays. The home where Hollywood royalty once gathered, where my children built sandcastles, where I held my husband's hand as he took his final breath. I didn't know you were seeing someone seriously, I said carefully. I would have loved to attend. It was just a small thing, spontaneous. You wouldn't have enjoyed it anyway. His dismissal was practiced. So, the keys. Can you have them messengered over today? A memory surfaced. Connor at 7, in this very kitchen, demanding the last piece of cake I'd saved for his sister. When I suggested he share, the tantrum ended with the cake on the floor. Some patterns form early. Connor, I haven't even met Scarlett. Perhaps you could both come for dinner first. We could celebrate. Mom, there's no time. Scarlett has auditions next month. This is our window. His impatience crackled. It's just a house. You can stay at your condo in the city. And, Auntie, just a house. As if the walls that had absorbed decades of laughter and tears were merely an asset to be used. Your sister is bringing the girls for their usual summer visit next week, I reminded him, referring to Aria's daughters, who spent every July with me, a tradition as reliable as the tides. They can skip a year, or stay at a hotel. Aria can afford it. I closed my eyes, feeling the familiar weight of being the family peacekeeper, the one who accommodates and yields. A role I'd played since Richard died, perhaps even before. But today, something was different. Perhaps it was the sheer audacity. Perhaps, at 69, I had simply reached my limit. Who is she, Connor? I asked quietly. What? Scarlett, your wife, the woman you've known long enough to marry, but not to introduce to your mother. She's an actress, incredibly talented. You'll meet her eventually. Look, about the keys. How long have you known her? An irritated sigh. Does it matter? We're in love. Now can we get back to? It matters to me, I said, my voice finding a firmness I hadn't used with him in years. I'm trying to understand why my son would get married without his family present, then immediately demand a family home that holds significant meaning to all of us. Jesus, Mom, it's not that complicated. We wanted privacy for our wedding and a nice place for our honeymoon. Why are you making this so difficult? The problem with raising children in privilege is that entitlement can take root when you're not looking, an invasive species choking everything of value. I need to think about this, Connor, I said finally. This is all very sudden. What's there to think about? It's the family beach house. I'm family. I need it for a month. Simple. Nothing about this was simple. Not the secret marriage, not the timing, not the gnawing suspicion that there was more to this story than impulsive romance. Let me consider it, I said. I'll be in touch. Mom, we need an answer now. Scarlett's already started packing. She's so excited. I said I will be in touch. My tone left no room for argument. Congratulations on your marriage, Connor. I look forward to meeting Scarlett soon. I hung up before he could push further. For several minutes I just stood there, watching the tide come in. They wanted my house, the very soul of our family. I picked up my phone again, scrolling to a contact I hadn't used in years. Theodore Blackwell, private investigator. Theo, I said when he answered. It's Rosalind Bradford. I need your services. Very discreetly, very quickly. After explaining what I needed, I made a second call to my attorney, Margaret Chen. Margaret, I need to make some immediate changes to my estate plans. How quickly can we execute this? As I outlined my wishes, a plan formed. Connor and his mysterious bride wanted access to the Malibu house. They would receive something far more valuable than keys. They would receive the truth. I smiled, a smile not of happiness, but of resolve. I would prepare a wedding gift that would reveal exactly what kind of woman had married into our family and exactly what kind of mother I really was. At 69, you discover you're not quite finished surprising people, especially yourself. 3 days later, I personally delivered an elegantly wrapped box to Connor's downtown loft. Inside was not the key to the Malibu house, but something that would make his new bride scream. I simply smiled and waited for the inevitable explosion. When you've lived in Hollywood circles as long as I have, you develop what my father called a screenplay sense, the ability to see a character's hidden motivations, to anticipate the plot twist. Something about Connor's sudden marriage set off every alarm I had. Theodore Blackwell understood urgency. Within hours, he had a preliminary report on Scarlett Moore, née Sarah Miller, born in Bakersfield. She's reinvented herself thoroughly, Theo explained over tea. Changed her name, erased her accent, constructed a new background. Standard procedure for many, but she's been particularly thorough. And her acting career? Minimal credits, a few commercials, background work. He slid a folder across the table. But her relationship history is where it gets interesting. The folder was a meticulous chronicle of her romantic entanglements. Director Julian Hargrove, 30 years her senior, whose film featured Scarlett until their engagement ended after filming wrapped. Producer Raymond Chen, whose series cast her until it wasn't renewed. Each relationship followed a pattern. An older, established man. A brief period of professional advancement for Scarlett. Then a careful exit. And Connor? I asked, studying a photo of them at an industry event, his arm possessive, her smile calculated. They met approximately 4 months ago at a charity event for the Film Preservation Society. Theo hesitated. An event hosted at your Malibu house last March, which you didn't attend. The revelation hit me like a physical blow. She was in my home before she met my son. According to my sources, Theo continued, she attended specifically to network. Several witnesses recall her asking detailed questions about the property. Who owned it, its history, its value. So, the house was the target from the beginning, I murmured. Mr. Bradford was likely identified as the access point. His reputation for being susceptible to beautiful, ambitious women is fairly well known. A polite way of saying my son was easily manipulated. There's more, Theo said, turning to the final pages. Moore has been meeting with real estate developers specializing in converting residential properties to luxury boutique hotels. The surveillance photos showed Scarlett in animated conversation, blueprints spread between them. The most recent meeting was 3 weeks ago. The gentleman on the left is Howard Kingsley of Oceanfront Developments. The final piece clicked. It wasn't just the house she wanted. It was what it could become. A landmark property with Hollywood history on a coveted stretch of coastline would be worth tens of millions as a hotel. Theo slid another folder toward me. We recorded several conversations between Ms. Moore and her friend Vanessa Diaz in public. The transcripts were damning. Connor's such a perfect target, desperate for validation. A direct line to that incredible property. His mother's almost 70. How much longer can she hold on to a place like that? Once you're married, it's just a matter of time before you can convince him to sell. The developers are offering a 7-figure consulting fee just for delivering the property. The most damning exchange occurred days before the wedding. Vanessa, what if his mother refuses to let you use the house? Scarlett, she won't. Connor says she never denies him anything. Besides, we just need to get our foot in the door. The old lady won't live forever. The old lady. Me. An inconvenient obstacle. What about Connor? I asked, my voice tight. Is he aware of her motives? None that we found, Theo replied, his expression softening. All evidence suggests he believes this is a genuine romance. My poor, foolish son. Thank you, Theo, I said, gathering the folders. This is exactly what I needed. What will you do now? I smiled, a calm settling over me. First, I'll speak with my attorney. Then I'll prepare a wedding gift that Ms. Moore will never forget. Enter, Nari, Naringodu, Iranasal, Hatenikiru, Orichi. As I drove back to Malibu, I felt a curious peace. I had raised my children to believe in love and family. Connor had strayed, but I was still Rosalind Bradford. I would not be outmaneuvered by an ambitious actress from Bakersfield. My father's voice seemed to whisper in my ear, "Every great screenplay needs a third-act twist, Rosie. Make it count." I intended to do exactly that. Margaret Chen's law office felt like the perfect setting for the scene we were about to craft. "You're certain about this?" she asked, sliding the finalized documents across the polished table. "Absolutely certain," I replied, signing where indicated. "The house has always been meant for my grandchildren. This just makes it official." "And Connor? You won't take this well." "Connor needs to learn that actions have consequences," I said, pen hovering. "This isn't about punishing him. It's about protecting what matters. The irrevocable nature of this trust means you can't change your mind later." "I'm not going to change my mind." I signed with a flourish. After leaving Margaret's office, I met Arya at my city apartment. "Your brother got married," I stated without preamble. Her eyebrows shot up. "To whom?" Exactly my question. "I poured us both wine. An actress named Scarlett Moore." "That's unexpected. Connor's impulsive, but marriage without telling anyone." "It gets worse. He called to demand the keys to the Malibu house for their honeymoon. For at least a month, during our annual visit with the girls." Indignation flashed across her face. "That's completely unacceptable." "Indeed, which is why I had Ms. Moore investigated." "Mom, you hired a private investigator." Something felt wrong. My instincts were correct. I summarized Theo's findings: the reinvented identity, the strategic relationships, the meetings with developers, the explicit targeting of our family home. With each revelation, Arya's expression shifted from shock to grim understanding. "She's a con artist," she concluded flatly. "And Connor's her mark." "Essentially, yes. But he wouldn't believe me if I told him. He'd just get defensive." "So what's your plan?" Arya asked, ever the pragmatist. "I've restructured the trust for the Malibu property. Effective immediately, it bypasses both of you and transfers directly to your daughters upon my death, with you as trustee." She blinked. "That's significant. Connor will be furious. Connor will eventually understand. There's more. I've prepared a wedding gift, a comprehensive dossier on Scarlett's intentions, along with the new trust documents. I'm delivering it tomorrow." "No." Arya was silent for a long moment. "You realize this will likely end their marriage." "That's rather the point. And possibly damage your relationship with Connor permanently." I met my daughter's gaze. "I'm willing to risk that to protect him from someone who sees him as nothing more than access to property. What kind of mother would I be if I stood by and allowed that?" Arya sighed. "A less confrontational one, perhaps, but not a better one." She reached for my hand. "The girls and I will support whatever you decide. Just remember that Connor, for all his flaws, is still that little boy who used to fall asleep on your lap during movie nights." The image sent a pang through my heart. When had that curious child become a man who would exclude his family from his wedding? The next morning, I put the final touches on my gift. The package was deceptively beautiful, tied with silk ribbon. Inside was an antique film canister that once held my father's most famous screenplay. Within it, I arranged 3 items. First, the new trust documents establishing my granddaughters as the future owners of the Malibu property, prohibiting its sale. Second, the dossier on Scarlett Moore, complete with transcripts and photos. Third, a personal letter written on stationery my husband had given me. As I sealed the package, I thought about what awaited: Connor's rage, Scarlett's duplicity, the potential fracturing of our family. But I was protecting the soul of our family, a place where my father had written words that moved millions, where my children had learned to dream. Some legacies were worth fighting for. I called my driver, handed him the package, then settled in to wait. The ocean seemed restless, waves crashing with determination. I prepared myself for the storm. Let it come. I had weathered worse. The call came at precisely 7:43 p.m. When my phone lit up with Connor's name, I let it ring twice before answering, my voice deliberately calm. "Hello, Connor." What followed was a cacophony. Scarlett's high-pitched screaming, objects crashing, my son's voice strained beyond recognition. "What the hell did you do?" He finally cut through the chaos. "I sent a wedding gift," I replied evenly. "I take it you've opened it." "Are you insane?" His voice cut off as another crash sounded. "She's having difficulty maintaining her composure, it seems," I observed. "Perhaps that's what happens when one's true intentions are exposed." "These allegations are false," he sputtered, but the uncertainty beneath his outrage was palpable. "I don't fabricate evidence, Connor. Everything in that dossier is meticulously documented. Your bride has been planning to use you to access the Malibu property from the moment she set eyes on it, before she ever met you." Another crash. Scarlett's voice, suddenly clearer. "That bitter old, she can't prove anything." "The trust documents," Connor said, his voice dropping. "You changed the inheritance. Cut me out completely. I protected the house from those who see it only as a commodity. The property will pass to your nieces, the next generation of our family." "You had no right." "I had every right. The house is mine, Connor. Not yours. Not yet. And now, not ever." The background noise suddenly shifted. A door slamming. Scarlett's voice now distant. Connor's breathing was heavy. "She's locked herself in the bathroom," he said, his voice hollow. "Say she's calling her lawyer. Says we can fight this." "She can certainly try, but I think you'll find I've been extremely thorough." Silence stretched between us. "Did you know?" His voice was suddenly small. "When I called about the house? Did you already suspect her?" "And you know." "I suspected something wasn't right," I admitted. "The timing, the secrecy, the immediate demand for the house. It fit a pattern." "In my relationships, you mean?" Bitterness crept in. "Because I'm such a predictable failure at them. Because you've allowed yourself to be vulnerable to a certain type of manipulation," I corrected gently. Another crash, then Scarlett's voice, crystal clear as if she'd grabbed the phone. "You think you're so clever, don't you? You and your precious house. You're just a selfish old woman who can stand seeing her son happy." I waited. When Connor reclaimed the phone, his voice was subdued. "Read the full dossier, Connor," I interrupted. "Look at the evidence with clear eyes, then decide if this marriage is what you truly want. And if it is," a hint of defiance returned, "then that is your choice. But it won't change mine regarding the house. The door is always open for you as my son, but not for those who seek to exploit our family's legacy." After we hung up, I poured a small glass of scotch and carried it to the terrace. The sun was setting, painting the water gold and crimson. My phone chimed. A text from Aria. "Connor just called, absolutely frantic." "What happened?" "Oh, it." I typed back. "The wedding gift was delivered. It's going about as expected." "Well." Her response came moments later. "We girls and I are coming early. Arriving tomorrow. You shouldn't be alone for the fallout." My throat tightened. Arya, always so like her father. I was halfway through my scotch when the security system alerted me to a car. A sleek red convertible sped up my driveway. Scarlett emerged alone, her face a mask of fury. So, a direct confrontation. I watched on the security feed as she pounded on my front door. "My housekeeper, Maria," answered with the instructions I'd provided. "Mrs. Redford is not receiving visitors this evening." "Honey, I'm not a visitor, I'm family," Scarlett hissed. Her daughter-in-law. Tell her to face me. Mrs. Bradford says you may make an appointment through her assistant tomorrow if you wish to discuss matters. Good evening, Ms. Moore. The use of her unmarried name was a deliberate, small twist of the knife. Scarlett screamed obscenities and kicked the door before storming back to her car. But instead of leaving, she sat there, engine running, staring at the house. My phone chimed with a text from an unknown number. This isn't over. I will have that house one way or another. End. Amelia. I didn't dignify it with a response, instead forwarding it to Theo and Margaret as evidence. Then I blocked the number, finished my scotch, and went inside. As I moved through my evening routine, I contemplated the storm I had unleashed. The house was secure. The legacy was protected. As for Connor, the third act reveals the truth of a character not through words, but through choices under pressure. The choice was his. I had made mine. Sleep came surprisingly easily. Ari arrived the next morning with my granddaughters in tow, their energetic chaos making the house feel truly alive. Mia, 16, hugged me fiercely before settling on the deck with a book. Zoe, 14, grabbed her surfboard and headed for the beach. The ocean calls, Grandma rose. When they had dispersed, Arya fixed me with her penetrating gaze. You look remarkably composed for someone who just detonated a nuclear bomb in the family. Dramatic phrasing, I observed, pouring coffee. Connor called me 4 times last night, each message more unhinged than the last. The final one included threats of suing you for defamation, and, I quote, exposing decades of family secrets. I raised an eyebrow. Interesting threat from someone who barely remembers most family gatherings. Mom, this is serious. She's threatening to go to the tabloids with stories about Dad, about Grandpa. I'm done. Let her try, I said with deliberate calm. Felix Hartman's life has been documented in 3 biographies. There are no scandals to unearth, and your father was the most ethical man I've ever known. Besides, I smiled thinly, I have something Scarlett doesn't. What's that? Actual evidence. Should she choose to make false accusations, I'm prepared to release the full dossier. My phone rang. Margaret Chen's office. Roslyn, Scarlett Moore has retained Julius Hammond as counsel. They're threatening a lawsuit for alienation of affection and defamation. Nyaman. Julius Hammond, a flamboyant attorney known for pursuing quick settlements. Let me guess, I replied. They're offering to drop all claims for a substantial sum? $2 million to be precise, and access to the Malibu house for 6 months per year. I laughed. Ambitious. What's your assessment? Their case is weak at best. The evidence you compiled is substantial. They're banking on your desire to avoid public spectacle. A miscalculation. Public spectacle doesn't frighten me. No. So, I should inform them we're prepared to defend against any legal action? Absolutely. And Margaret, make it clear that should they proceed, we will countersue for attempted fraud and submit all evidence to the district attorney. After the call, I turned to Arya. I learned long ago that bullies rely on their target's fear of confrontation. Remove that fear, and they typically retreat. And if she doesn't, then we'll face that challenge. But I suspect once she realizes I won't be intimidated, she'll cut her losses and move on. And Connor? The question lingered. I can't predict. He makes decisions based on emotion. Nah. As if summoned, my phone chimed with a text from him. We need to talk. Alone. Padatingang. Today. Ek. I showed Arya. Are you going to see him? Of course. I typed back. Come for dinner. 7:00 p.m. Just the 2 of us. Me. I chose my attire carefully. Armor of a sort, a sapphire silk blouse, my mother's pearl earrings, my father's watch. At precisely 6:58 p.m., Connor arrived. I opened the door before he could ring. Connor, come in. He followed me to the kitchen, where I'd prepared his childhood favorite, spaghetti carbonara. We ate in a silence, taut with unspoken accusations. I want to understand why you did it, he said, setting down his fork. Did what, specifically? investigated the woman who married my son without my knowledge, protected the family home. All of it. The whole calculated attack on my marriage. Not your marriage, Connor. Scarlett's deception. There's a difference. You don't know her. There could be explanations. Hope flared briefly. What explanations would justify her discussing you as a perfect target, or planning to convert this house to a hotel before she ever met you? He flinched. She says those recordings are taken out of context. Then she's adding lies to her deception. I slid a tablet toward him. The complete unedited recordings are here. Listen for yourself. He stared at it. She's my wife. She's a con artist who targeted you for property and money. You never gave her a chance. He flared. You never even met her. You never gave me the chance to meet her, I countered evenly. He stood abruptly. This is useless. You've already decided she's guilty. I would be delighted to be proven wrong. Show me evidence that contradicts what I've discovered. No? Because I knew you'd judge her, the words burst out. Just like you've judged every woman I've ever been with. Nobody is ever good enough for your precious son. The accusation stung. I've never wanted anything but your happiness, I said softly. But I won't stand by while someone exploits you. Legacy, 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 he spat. That's all you care about. Your choices affect more than just you. Your father wanted this house to remain a home, not to be sold off. By cutting me out completely? By protecting it from those who would exploit it, including your wife. He flinched again. Listen to the recordings, Connor, I urged. Read the full report. Look at the evidence with clear eyes. Don't psychoanalyze me. I'm not one of Grandpa's characters. No, you're my son, whom I love, whom I'm trying, perhaps imperfectly, to protect. Something flickered in his expression. Doubt, confusion. Then his phone chimed. The moment shattered. He glanced at the screen. Scarlett. She's waiting. Take the tablet, Connor. Listen to the recordings away from her influence. He hesitated, then picked it up. This doesn't change anything. I didn't do this to hurt you, I said, touching his arm gently. I did it because I love you. For a moment, I thought he might embrace me. Then another text chimed. I have to go. The next morning, Theo called. Mrs. Bradford, Scarlett Moore, has been making some concerning moves. She visited 3 tabloid journalists yesterday, shopping a story about Felix Hartman having fathered an illegitimate child in the 1960s. She's claiming to have documentation. Impossible, I said. I agree it's likely fabricated. But tabloids aren't concerned with verification. She's also been in contact with Horizon developers, presenting herself as having imminent access to your property. Down, G. I called Margaret immediately. I need to send cease and desist letters. Later, Arya joined me on the terrace. More complications? I briefed her. She's despicable, Arya concluded. Attacking Grandpa's reputation. A desperate move. She's losing control. Have you heard from Connor? Not yet, but he took the tablet. Shortly after noon, my phone rang. A hesitant voice. Mrs. Bradford, this is Vanessa Diaz. I was Scarlett's friend. 20 minutes later, she sat in my living room, twisting her jewelry. I'm not doing this out of loyalty. Scarlett and I had a falling out. She wants me to notarize forged documents. Letters between your father and this woman he supposedly had a child with. Letters she created using AI to mimic his writing style. And you were unwilling to commit fraud? I'm not going down with her, Vanessa said. She's meeting with developers tomorrow, claiming she has power of attorney due to your declining mental state. She created a fake document for that too. And Connor, she's keeping him insulated, telling him you're launching a smear campaign. But I think he's starting to doubt her. She's afraid she's losing her grip. She handed me a manila envelope. The fake power of attorney, the fabricated letters, screenshots. One more thing, she said, standing to leave. She's meeting Connor for lunch at Nobu today. She's planning to convince him to sign a document granting her authority over the house. After she left, I called Connor. He answered reluctantly. Mom, I'm about to head into a lunch meeting with Scarlett. I know. I just wanted to ask if you've reviewed the materials. A pause. Some of it. I've been busy with a client emergency. A sudden crisis that requires your immediate attention? How convenient. My words struck a nerve. Connor, whatever document Scarlett asks you to sign today, I strongly suggest you have your own attorney review it first. After a long silence, he spoke, his voice subdued. The recordings, they're real, aren't they? Completely authentic, I confirmed. I need to go. Of course. Enjoy your lunch. That evening, Connor's Porsche sped up the driveway. He burst in, radiating a fury I hadn't seen since his father's rarest moments of anger. She tried to trick me into signing power of attorney, he said, his voice tight. A document granting her authority over all family property. When I questioned it, she had a complete meltdown. Then her phone rang. I saw the screen. Horizon developers confirming tomorrow's meeting. Nenun. I'm so sorry, Connor, I said softly. He turned to me, raw pain on his features. How did I not see it? How was I so blind? Because she's very, very good at what she does. He sank onto the stairs, head in his hands. I've been such a fool. I sat beside him. You've been a man who wanted to be loved. There's no shame in that. He straightened, a new determination in his eyes. I need your help, Mom, to end this. I covered his hand with mine. Of course. That's what family is for. The next morning, Connor appeared in the kitchen, haggard but resolute. He reviewed the evidence Vanessa had provided. She was planning to declare you mentally incompetent, he said, his voice flat with anger. I want her gone, permanently. That can be arranged. That afternoon, a taxi arrived. Scarlett emerged, disheveled and agitated. Connor met her at the door. I remained in the kitchen, out of sight but able to hear. Connor, thank God, she began. I've been so worried. The game is over, Scarlett. Game? What are you talking about? Stop. Dottie. I've seen everything. The recordings, the forged documents, your meetings with developers. I said. Your mother manufactured all of that. Vanessa provided copies of everything, including your texts planning how to separate me from the Bradford fortune. A long pause. Then her tone shifted. Fine. So what? You were a mark, honey. A pathetically easy one. The cruelty of her words made me wince, but Connor's calm response surprised me. You're right. I was an easy mark. That's on me. So what now? You run back to Mommy? The marriage was based on fraud. There won't be any settlement when the DA sees evidence of your attempted forgery. I'll destroy you in the press. With what? The fake scandal you fabricated? Every tabloid has already received legal notice that you're peddling fraudulent stories. Nian. You son of a... Careful, Connor interrupted, his voice dropping. That's my mother you're about to insult. The woman you dismissed as an old lady, who turns out to be considerably more formidable than either of us appreciated. The door opened. Goodbye, Scarlett. Divorce papers will be delivered today. Don't come back. He appeared in the kitchen doorway, his expression a complex mixture of pain and relief. Well, he said simply. That's done. I opened my arms, and for the first time since he was a teenager, my son stepped into my embrace. 6 months can change everything. Autumn arrived with golden light. The divorce was final. Scarlett received probation and a restraining order. Connor committed to therapy, moved to a smaller house, and shed the ostentatious lifestyle that had defined him. He was a man finding his way back to himself. Today, my family gathered for my 70th birthday. Connor arrived first, bearing hydrangeas in a small, carefully wrapped package. Happy birthday, Mom, he said, embracing me with an easy affection I hadn't felt in years. He handed me the package. Inside was a leather-bound journal. The first page was inscribed in his handwriting. HE for my mother, who taught me that legacy isn't measured in property, but in wisdom. This is my contribution to our family's story. The subsequent pages were filled with his reflections, honest and offered with love. "Connor," I said, my voice thick with emotion, "this is extraordinary." "There's more," he said. "I've been working on a documentary about Grandpa Felix. Not the Hollywood legend, but the man behind the typewriter, the father to husband." "He would have loved that," I said, deeply moved. Arya and the girls arrived an hour later, bringing gifts and chaos. As Maria served dinner on the terrace, I looked at my family, my heart's true home. Mia was discussing film preservation with Connor. Zoe was regaling us with tales of her latest surfing competition. Arya watched them with quiet pride. And Connor was engaged and present in a way he hadn't been for years. "To 70 years, I began, raising my glass. Most of them good, some challenging, all of them part of a story still being written. "To Grandma Rose," Mia added, "who showed us what strength really looks like. "To this house," Arya continued, "and everything it represents. "To family," Connor concluded, his gaze meeting mine. "The real thing." As the sun touched the horizon, I felt my father's presence, my husband's spirit, the continuum of love that bound us all together. Later, Connor set up a projector and shared footage from his documentary, home movies of a younger me chasing a toddler Connor, of Richard debating film theory with my father. "I'd forgotten these existed," I murmured. "They were in the USC archive," Connor explained. "Our history, preserved in light and shadow." As we watched these precious fragments, I felt a profound sense of continuity. The house would remain, but the true inheritance had already been transmitted, not through deeds, but through moments like this, where the meaning of family was demonstrated, not just discussed. "Look," Zoe exclaimed, pointing to the screen where the camera had captured a younger me beside my father on this very terrace. "What were you talking about with Great-Grandpa?" Mia asked. "I remember that day," I said softly. "He was telling me about legacy, about how this house wasn't just walls and windows, but a repository for our family's soul. I didn't fully understand then, but I do now." Connor reached over and squeezed my hand. He knew now too. As the home movie ended, we remained on the terrace, listening to the eternal rhythm of the waves, surrounded by the tangible and intangible inheritance that defined us. A house filled with memories. A family healed by crisis. A legacy preserved.